on our back. I'm starting here because in an upright position, so I want to kind of walk through where I want to start. We're going to make two C shapes with our hands, and we're placing the hands beneath the ribs and above the hips in that nice meaty section of our side body. And I want to think about having three parts of the hand that are they're going to be a kinesthetic cue. They're going to be a physical touch to help stimulate where we're breathing into. So I want to have index finger pressing into the abdominals, just very front part of the abdominals. Side of the hand is pressing into the side body, so I want to have some pressure pushing in, and the thumb is pressing into that kind of low back area. So I got all 6 points of pressure pressing in. And we're going to take some nice deep breaths in through the nose. And as you inhale, I want to feel muscular pressure pushing out from that inhale into all 6 points of pressure. Now, what's more than likely going to happen is that there are certain areas of that abdominal inhale that are going to move better than others. You're probably going to breathe forward into the the belly a little bit easier than you will into the low back. You may find that one side expands better and then the other side isn't really very active. These are all kind of normal things. For right now, what we're working on is developing the neurology so that you can get a nice even expansion of that breath through both sides and getting into all 6 points of contact. So from laying on our back with our hands pressed in nicely, I don't want to press in so much that I cannot expand my breath, but just enough that I can feel that pressure into each point of contact. And we're going to inhale in through the nose, again, filling up specifically into that abdominal region and feeling that front index finger, side body, and low back expanding as evenly as possible on the inhale, and on the exhale, drawing navel all the way into spine. Get a full expression of that breath. And let's get 5 to 6 nice slow breaths in, nice full exhale. And with each breath where you feel that it's difficult to get that inhale breath into, kind of imagine that inhale breath as a light and you're shining it into that space, seeing if you can get that musculature to expand outward into your hand. As you're getting into each breath, start to notice if you're holding tension elsewhere in the body, such as the neck and the shoulders. I want to try to be soft with the other areas of my body and only focus that tension into the areas of my hands. So if you notice that your neck is a little tense, that you're holding your shoulders a little stiff, kind of let them soften on the exhale. Allow that tension to melt off the body and just drop down into the floor. And I want to continue to focus on this breath. We're going to take our hands off our side body, allow the hands to relax for 1 or 2 more breaths, but continue to expand as if your hands are still in place. And then we're going to slowly shift our position, coming into our quadruped. But I want to maintain this nice breath, spreading fingers nice and wide, grounding palms, extending elbows without locking. Get another breath in and out. And we're going to start working into loading into our wrist space. Again, just checking in with wrist mobility. Inhale, exhale, nice big expansion through that abdominal space in our 360, not just forward into the belly. And slowly loading into the wrist, comparing the right wrist to the left wrist. Noticing if there's any stiffness or achiness in one wrist compared to the other. Is one a little bit painful? And keep your movement slow, since your breath is slow. Since we're focusing on breath, I want to move incredibly slowly. This is one of those areas where I want to think however slow we are going, we can always go slower. I want to be slow to go smooth, and I want to be smooth to go fast. And right now we have to work on the smooth part. We've got to go slow in order to achieve. We'll turn the fingers out to the side and start moving side to side. Continuing to feel the wrist, but now also noticing the shoulder blades, how they slide across the rib cage. I want them to be actively engaged in pushing and pulling. That active engagement is both at the palms and the hands and the fingers, but also at the shoulder blades and how they kind of caress the ribs as they slide back and forth. Again, nice full breath in and out, getting that nice expansion of breath into the abdominals. Then we're going to turn fingers all the way back towards the knees, bringing the hands in a little closer. The closer the hands are to the knees, the less intense. The further out we walk, the more intense. Since we are focusing largely on our breath right now, I don't want this to be significantly intense. I want it to be a nice, juicy range of motion that we're working into. Again, nice and slow, feeling that breath. That nice expansion on the inhale, full exhale, drawing that navel into spine on the exhale. And still kind of just taking notice of any differences between the right side and the left side. If you're noticing anything at the wrist, where one wrist feels a little bit more sensitive than the other, then I want to start also paying attention to the shoulders, elbows, shoulders, and neck region as we work further into our movements. Next, we're going to flip our palms upside down and allow the elbows to bend. Continuing to breathe in and out nice and slowly and fully. On the exhale, we're going to extend the elbows lightly to see if there's any stretch specifically at the elbows. Inhale, let the elbows bend. Exhale, extend. I don't want to force the extension. I want to move into that nice juicy space. If you are able to extend the elbows fully without locking, then we can start to lightly rock back hips to heels. Again, slow, full inhale, slow, full exhale. Each inhale, expanding that abdominal space. Breathing forward into the belly, into the side body, and into that low back, like a crocodile, that 360-degree breath. Then the last for our wrist mobility, we're going to work on spirals through the elbow. So I want to spiral the elbow pits so that they go as far forward as possible. And then I want to spiral them all the way back so that they're facing back to the back wall as much as possible. Continue to sync this with our breath. We can think about the long arm bones as a screwdriver. As you are spiraling the elbow pits so that they face forward, it's like you are screwing the palms into the floor. I want to feel the palms kind of load and ground, but also notice how that grounds the shoulder blades into the ribs. You feel them kind of packing down onto the ribs. As we spiral inward, it kind of releases the hand a little bit. It takes the hand, degrounds the hands, and we feel the shoulder blades roll up and over the rib cage lightly. With each spiral, see if you can spiral the elbows a little bit further in each direction. Notice if there's a little bit of a stretch around the wrist or up around the shoulder, or maybe you feel it in the elbow space itself. And we're going to finish with spiraling. Well, if you need to take a break and take a rest on your wrist, roll them out frequently, that is fine. We're going to finish and hold that elbows pit spiraled facing forward. I want to have the toes tucked underneath ever so lightly. And now we're going to start playing with our hip mobility. Scooping the pelvis on your exhale as you draw your navel into spine, letting your pelvis drop down towards the floor on the inhale. Expanding into the belly, side body, low back. Inhale, exhale, drawing navel into spine. You're scooping as much as you can, but we're keeping this movement at the pelvis. I'm not going into my waves of my spine. I'm actually locking down my upper back, with keeping my elbow pit spiraled forward so that my upper back doesn't move as much, which allows me to get a little bit more tension stretch into that low back region, especially on the exhale. The more you exhale, drawing that navel into the spine will help you get more scoop of that pelvis, which will help you get more length and load into that lumbar region where it's going to feel like a nice, juicy stretch. And now I want to start to let the rest of the spine free. So as we scoop, exhaling, allow your elbow pits to spiral inwardly, pressing into the floor. So as you scoop, you start to round in that upper back. We're going to let that wave come across the top of the head, and we're going to try to touch our tailbone to our forehead at this imaginary point in the middle, spiraling fully, elbow pit spiraled all the way backwards, reaching through the floor as you exhale. Inhale, bringing the belly back to the floor, elbows are spiraling forward, head comes up. Again, nice, slow breath. See if you can sync that wave of the spine, starting at the pelvis, working up to the head, syncing it with your breath, inhale to exhale, and syncing it to our spirals through our elbows. I want to see if we can feel this nice, big, continuous stretch from the tailbone through the shoulders all the way to the base of the neck on our kind of cat position. And as we inhale, opening, filling up that abdominal space, can you feel some stretch through the abdominals on your depth of your inhale, filling up with the inhale as your pelvis tilts forward. I want to try to avoid any kind of pinch or pain discomfort in the low back.